welcome to LotRO 101. I am your teacher of the day, Druidsfire. Hello, it is Thursday, March 26th, the day after Tolkien Reading Day. Of course, March 25th being the new year in Gondor after certain shenanigans happened down that way. Anyway, we're going to go through a class, and I was looking at my slides. We might wind up actually going through 2 classes today because I have some really cool slides. The music you hear in the background, there will actually maybe be music. You might hear horses occasionally and the sounds of clattering because I can turn some of that stuff down. I'm actually logged into Lord of the Rings Online right now. My character's parked atop the prancing pony. If you are swift enough, you can race and jump onto the roof and then clamber your way up to the very tippy top. So, I just wanted some background music while I chat with you all and we go over shenanigans and see what's going on. So welcome, Cletus. I hope you've been having a good day today on Thursday. So let's start with our slides. Let me switch over to my slides window. Boop. So even more Lembas. Since yesterday, we talked about, day before yesterday, no, it was yesterday, we talked about a lot of the in-game systems like, your character window, your gear, your traits, your virtues, all the other fun stuff. There's some other stuff that goes into having the game going. And we're going to switch between game and not game so we can show off a lot of this stuff. While a friend of mine is down giving somebody a music lesson down in front of the Prancing Pony right now. But I have that music turned off because that will be a little bit disruptive. So one of the things you have in LotRO is bags and storage. There's all kinds of bags and storage. In fact, you know what? I'm probably going to have to wind up going to the Vault Keeper here in a minute. Because we kind of looked at the Vault Keeper in a previous lesson, but we're going to go into it a little bit more detail. You have a personal inventory that goes around you, goes with you across Middle-earth. You can search it. You can also customize and upgrade it with more slots that you can buy on the LotRO store. There are personal vaults, also known as banks, but they're vaults, is the official term over here. You access them through a Vault Keeper NPC. That you can find Vault Keepers all over Middle-earth. Every town has one. Well, every real town has one. Multiple ones, actually. And at the Vault Keeper, you can access your personal vault, which is your own character's stuff. You can access the shared storage, which is all characters on that server can access. And those are, as it shows here, upgradable on a per-character basis for the personal vault. Shared storage is upgradable on an account-wide basis. So if you unlock more shared storage, you have those same number of slots no matter which server you're on. But it only grants access to items on the same server and account. So for example, if I have stuff in shared storage over on the Brandywine server and I'm logged into Langeville, I can't see any of that stuff. I can't access any of that stuff. Then you also have a wardrobe, which is also shared on a server in the same basis, upgradable on an account-wide basis in terms of the number of slots you have. It only grants access to items on the same server and account. And the difference between the wardrobe and shared storage is you're only giving it a copy of that item. You don't actually give it that item. So you can still use that item, especially, this is very important for like gear. If you want this armor set that you found, this chest piece that you found while you were adventuring, but you want to use it in your wardrobe, but you still want to use it on your character to protect you, you can do that. And we did discuss in the previous lesson about dyes and the wardrobe system a bit. Armor can be dyed multiple times with all the options available, and we'll show you that here in just a few moments. You also can get a housing chest. This is if you participate in the housing segment of the LotRO gameplay. It comes with a personal house, or if you purchase a house for your kinship. In LotRO right now, only the leader of a kinship can purchase a kin house, and that's only if the kin is 3 months old or more. And you can upgrade your housing chest with more slots. Access for housing chests is customized by the house maintenance menu, and you can allow people other than yourself, other than your kidmates as well, access to those housing chests. And they can actually take items out if you allow it, items that don't belong to a specific player. And one thing about the housing chest is it's shared amongst the player's properties. So if you have a personal house in the classic housing instances, a premium house in Belfalas, and a kinship house wherever, and you go to access the housing chest, it'll be the same amount of space if you own all of those properties yourself. So let's actually go take a look at all of this in-game. First of all, what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to get my character off the roof of the Prancing Pony. And we're going to run past some friends and break our leg while we're doing so. I'm going to go down to the bank, and they're probably going to wonder why elves are falling off of the landscape, off the... It's like, what were you doing up there on the roof of the Prancing Pony? Oh, just hanging out. So this is one of the earliest. There's this door right here. It goes into the Breetown Vault. And you see other people talking to the Vault Keepers. Some of them will actually have an in-character name, like a real person's name. Some of them will just say Vault Keeper. And they all work the same. If you talk to the Vault Keeper, you're going to get a menu that looks like this. And today, Thief Kitty decides to join us. Yesterday, he surprisingly did not. Here you. Come here. Come on. So, if you talk to the Vault Keeper, they will give you these 4 options. You just right-click on them to talk to them. If you notice the icon, by the way, if there's something that you can use or talk to, it'll have this little hand icon. Make it look like this. Just like you're reaching for it. So you right-click, and it pulls up this menu. And you have these choices. Some Vault Keepers will give you more choices. If they also act as what's called an escrow broker, which we've mentioned before. And that handles some stuff with your housing. So in this case, you can browse the shop. So this Vault Keeper acts as a vendor. All of them do now. They didn't used to, but now they do because people complained and said, hey, we want this. My coworker of the day, and always. Hi. So if you want to browse the shop, you can pull this up and it will tell you how much gold you have. You can buy, sell, or buy back stuff. So buying things, they sell bags of coins. And I suspect these might go away in the future when server transfers come back. Because this is the way a lot of people used to transfer gold from server to server. You buy a bag of coins, and they represent the exact amount. It's like 10 gold, 100 silver, 1 gold. And then you take the bag it gives you and put it into your storage, and then you transfer your storage to another server. Server transfers are currently not available. That will be coming back at some point, but we don't know when, and we don't know if there will be any changes yet, though I suspect there will be, just from having talked to the folks at Standing Stone when I interviewed them a few weeks ago. So you can buy these. These are the only things the bankers, the Vault Keepers sell. You can also sell your own stuff. Now, as you can see on this interface, you can lock something, and depending on what your settings are like, it'll either hide that item, or it will show the item but have a lock on it so you can't actually sell it. So, for example, let's go over to this Rittermark Ethelus Essence, which is basically a healing potion. I'm going to click the little button. And my settings are set to not show locked items, so I don't even have to worry about it. I don't have so much stuff to scroll through. So what I typically wind up doing is I go through here and I just lock the stuff that I don't want to sell. And I rarely sell crafting materials. Is there a video on YouTube of the interview with Standing Stone? Yeah, actually, it's on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com. It's on there, and you will be able to find them and many other shenanigans, including the previous classes will be there as well from this LotRO 101. Even though this is being streamed on the Signum U channel, it shows up on my personal YouTube channel instead. Because it's not really like an official class being taught by Professor Corey, so it's not one of their official series. It's kind of like his son teaches Pokemon on the channel as well, and that doesn't get uploaded to the Signum U YouTube channel. So let's look at our icons here, and we're also going to pull up my main inventory while I'm at it. You do that, you access your inventory with the letter I. And we kind of glossed over this in a previous class, but you can edit your inventory. You click this little, this thing, and it even says edit mode on the little tooltip. So you can edit your bags, and this is how you edit your bags, is you can put stuff over here. So let's say you want one bag to just be your crafting material, so you put your crafting material stuff over here. And any player can do this. This is not a free-to-play or a paid thing. It's anybody can have up to 6 bags of space, organized however you want. I personally prefer to just slide each slot of each group of 5 slots into my main bag. And basically have that to be one whole bag. That's just the way I prefer to do it. Also, with your inventory, you can lock stuff directly from the inventory screen. So you click the lock button. It says toggle lock mode. And what you can do here is you see this massive pile of copper scraps. It's the same item right here. I can lock it from here, and suddenly it vanishes from the selling window. I can then unlock it and it comes back. And yes, I need to do inventory management like crazy. You can also have the game automatically sort your items. And what most games will do is it will sort stuff based on rarity. Like the quality of the item, like a common item will be at the top of the list and the rare stuff will be at the bottom. And you can click this button, this arrow pointing down. It says click to sort all of your items. You click that. In the game, the first time you try it will ask you, are you really sure you want to do that? And you can say, you know, you can tell it not to tell you, ask you ever again. Or you can click yes or no, depending on what you prefer. I personally don't like it, so I don't use it. However, it's there. So I'm going to tell it not to sort my stuff because I know where everything is. But let's say you have all of this stuff and you're looking for something very specific. But you can't see where it is in that pile of things. So let's go. And there's this search bar right here. And I know that I have a Duero gleam in here. So I'm going to type Duero, or just as soon as you start typing, it immediately starts filtering for you, and it highlights the stuff that matches. You don't even have to search for it already. You can just start typing what you're looking for, and all of a sudden, it's already filtered down to 3 things. The Duero gleams I was looking for. I have dwarf candles, which is, something else. And then I have these dwarf-made sword sheaths. So they all match DWA. And so that's a good way to find something if you have a huge bag to sort through. And you also notice it does the sorting also in the shop, which is very handy because a lot of the shop windows don't actually have a thing to search by. It's very annoying, in fact. But what they do have is they have filters where you can filter based on how rare it is, which is really cool. So common and below is basically everything. Some items don't actually have a listing for whether it's common, uncommon, or whatnot. So if I want to just search for incomparable or below, that's pretty much everything. But what if I only want the common stuff? Well, those are these. If I just want uncommon and everything below that, then, as you go down the list, you get more and more stuff. But I wanted to show me everything. So what you do is you decide what items you want to sell. Actually, I didn't want to sell that. Definitely don't want to sell universal solvents to a vendor. Anything with the green icon, like that medium green icon, that is a crafting material. Anything that's got this, dull purpley color, that's junk. Or it's a task item. And unless you know the list of which items are actually task items, they all say this thing may be turned in for tasks, and some of them fib. Right? Some of them are just trash. Like this jade gemstone is just trash. There's nothing you can do with it except sell it and get the money for it. But crafting items, I rarely sell because I'm that person. So once you've decided you've got the items that you want to sell, and you've filtered out the ones you don't want to sell, I mean, you can just go through the list and manually right-click on an item to sell it automatically. But sometimes you just want to sell all. Pardon me. You want to go through the list, make sure you got the list the way you want it, then you click sell all. Now, if you have too many items in that list, it's going to say, hey, you're about to sell however many items. I think it's like 18 or more. Pardon me. And it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to sell all of this stuff? Because there's a buyback window here. That buyback window only goes so far. It will only save like the last 16 things you sell. And one other thing that I learned is once you log out of that character, that buyback history gets removed. And I don't believe you can go back and buy these things. So what you do, the buyback window is you reclaim the item from the banker, or what. This is how vending works in general anyway. It's not just a vault keeper thing. If you claim something from the buyback window, you'll get the exact same amount of coin for it that you originally sold it for, but you get the item back. So if you accidentally made a mistake in selling something, as long as it's not beyond the first 16 items, it'll show up here in this window, and then you can have the opportunity to reclaim it. But that history gets wiped away when you log out. There's also, there is a find items thing, so you can actually type in something here, and it does a search the same way. So it's actually kind of cool. I didn't notice that was there. So there's a thing. So yes, you can sort these. You can find the stuff that you're looking for. As it says down here, this is again, any vendor will be this way, is you can hold your shift key to purchase full stacks of items. The number of items that take up a stack varies based on what the item is. For example, a lot of crafting materials will stack up to 500. Some of them only stack up to 10. Trying to think of which one goes where. It also says you can press the Alt key when you click on something to purchase by quantity. Like, you want to spend, okay, I have 17 gold, but I want to buy 3 bags of silver coin. So I'm going to click this, and you're going to see this little icon appear. And you notice, like, if you're going to buy a stack, it puts this gift icon on it. And you hold down, I'm holding down the shift key when I'm doing this. It tells you how much that stack is going to cost you and how many are included in the stack. You see this number 100 here. I don't have enough gold to buy a stack of 100 of anything except the copper coins, which will get me, charge me 10 gold. Alright. But if I hold the Alt key, it turns into a little box, and then I can click on it, and it's gonna change this little button down here to it says buy quantity, and you click that button, and it's gonna bring up this window. And then you let go of the buttons, and then you can decide how much you want to buy. You can either choose maximum, you can choose half of it, or you can choose 1. Or you can just use these arrow keys over here to cycle between. You can also left click and, basically left click and drag to highlight what's there and just type in whatever number you want. Dragon Rider's first time playing, you accidentally sold everything and lost some of your cosmetic items. Ooh, that's unfortunate. One of the things you want to be careful of is holding down the shift key, and you want to left click before you click on anything. Because if you right click, it's going to make the purchase, and then you're going to be a very unhappy person sometimes. Now, when it comes to these bags of gold, they will buy them back at exactly the same price they sold them to you for. Most vendors won't do that. If you're going to like an armor vendor or a weapon vendor and you're going to buy something from them, you're going to buy it at a higher price than they will buy it back from you. So that's why you want to be careful when buying things in stacks or what you're buying in general, because if you accidentally purchase something you didn't mean to and you go to sell it back to them, you're going to wind up selling it back at a high, well, you're going to lose money on the prospect. And we're not talking a small amount of money. So buyer beware. Double check before you hit that happy fun button. All right. So that's the first function of a vault keeper. Who is that? It's like somebody I know. Somebody in the Lonely Mountain Band's hanging out. All right. Second item is to open your vault. This is your personal vault. It will tell you up here how full it is. The bar will change from green to yellow to orange to red depending on how full you are. And it tells you how many slots you have. You can display things. I have it set to display items as icons with text. You can also display items simply as icons, which looks like this. Which means you have to know what things look like. I mean, you can still hover over them. Let me get this out of the way. You can still hover over them and see what the item is. I personally prefer having the name there, having it sort by this. And as you notice, your vault, your personal vault, your shared storage that we're going to take a look at here in a second, and also your wardrobe all automatically sort for you. You can't rearrange this stuff. The game will do it for you. You can filter things by what kind of item it is. Hey, get back here. Like, I decided I accidentally chose armor legs. And it showed me the couple of items that fit the leg slot. And they are geared, statted armor. I can look at deconstructibles. These are legendary items that you can deconstruct that I haven't gotten around to. Festival items. Fireworks! Though I don't know why the Lost Lore copies are considered festival items, but hey, what the heck, right? So you can sort these by, you can filter out by what kind of item. You can then go back to all. You can also tell it how to sort. Right now, mine is set to auto sort. You can also sort by name, A to Z. You can also sort Z to A. And finally, every account has all 10 of these slots here. And this is basically how you rearrange your personal vault. So you can use any of these 10 slots to divvy up any of these, whatever number of slots you have available in your vault, you can divvy them up based on these 10 chests, and you have the main one. All right, let's go back to our all. So you get a main chest, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they have these different color-coded boxes on the side. You can rename them right here, and you can have them be whatever you want the name to be. And then you click submit, and then it changes the name for you. And then you can click and drag your stuff into a different chest if you want. And you can just click and drag however. If you want to get something out of your vault and into your personal inventory, you can either double click on, you can double click on it. Or you can right click and you can choose like withdraw. You can move it to a different chest. You have all of your other chests. And you can also have the game auto-filter by right-clicking. You can also delete an item, which will actually get rid of the item entirely. So I highly do not recommend using the delete function unless you're really sure about it. So up here, you can access the other two features of the Vault Keeper, which is the open shared storage, which is this icon right here. It's the same. These two do the same thing, and then the wardrobe with the coat hanger. So we're gonna open up our shared storage, and it has the same filtering, display, renaming, the same 10 lists. I have all of these renamed so I know what's in each box, right? So I have my miscellaneous is just stuff that doesn't fit anywhere else. Then I have legendary items. So I dragged my legendary item stuff here so I know where it is. Then I've got crafting items. I really need to clean those out. Then I decided I was going to put my metals, which are like my ores, and I mainly try to keep like my finished metals, like the ones I've already smelted in here. And then I have my gemstones. I need to clean a couple of those out. My wood and leather crafting stuff. Then I have my potions, which are like, things that will increase my morale or my power. And then I have food. Then I have stuff for gear. I don't have much there anymore. And then I have my essences. And then I have character boosts. And as you can see, I have a lot of those. And this is where I put things like my hope tokens, my reputation tokens, my temporary scrolls of max morale and power. And as you can see, I'm a little bit of a pack rat. So that's shared storage, and you can filter again by item kind, like the kind of item. You can also do the auto sort, or the name from A to Z. You can add stuff. You can like add space to your vault for like, let's see. Click here, add space. It'll cost you 5 gold coins to increase your bank storage by 15 slots. If you wanted to do that, there are a few tiers of unlocking your vault, or I believe your personal bags, just by in-game gold. And then after that, it's going to be like over here in my shared storage. It will only let me add more storage, A, if there's any available, because there is a limit, and there's a reason for that. And B, basically, it's only going to let you add if there's space available. There is a limit to how much storage you can buy on your account, and the reason that limit is because it causes the game to lag. One time, I actually gave one of the marketing team people, who goes by the nickname of SSG Red Panda. His name is Johnny Liu. He's an awesome dude. I once told him of an experiment I had done once just to test his theories. They always say, well, we want to be very careful before we add more storage to the game for players to buy. As much as we like, we want to keep the game afloat and monetize this, because, without money, they don't keep the game going. I said, Johnny, I once put 1,200 items into my shared storage. I was cheerfully using and abusing the transfers that were available at the time, and I managed to get 1,200 items in my storage. The max I think you can get is something like 310. And when I opened up my storage, my game lagged and the window didn't appear for a stupid amount of time. So that's why they're very careful, despite player request, to add more storage available, because it will cause your game to mess up. And that's never good. So the final thing you can access here through the Vault Keeper is the wardrobe. Again, you can either right-click the Keeper or hit the clothes hanger. And this is your wardrobe.
What can I do for you?
As you can see, I actually have my wardrobe over full. And again, that's due to how shared storage transfers used to work. Any piece of gear can be dyed if it's a piece of armor. You can't dye weapons or shields or whatever. So once you click and drag an item into your wardrobe, it automatically has whatever dye that item had is the default dye. And then you can use dyes, which you can create as a scholar. Hey, wait, I'm a scholar. Let's make some even dim blue dye real quick. Hey, look, on screen crafting. Let me show you this, really cool. So I just made myself a bottle of even dim blue dye. Scholars can make certain dyes, most of them. And then I'm going to look for an item that isn't dyed. How about this item? You click on an item, you go down to the bottom, and you can't see it because my window's in the way. So we're going to move this over a little bit. You can click and drag these windows, by the way. Let's get that out of the way. Let's move our wardrobe over here into the middle. So you can click an item. You can sort name A to Z, Z to A. It does automatically filter by name. You can also choose what kind of item you're looking for. You can also sort by color. And unlike the dressing room where you're previewing what's on your character, the color here is in alphabetical order, and thank goodness for that. So we're going to go look at this item, the Brilliant Forest Defender's Hooded Mask. Going down to the bottom, it will tell you what colors are available for that item. And apparently I've only dyed it crimson, heirloom blue, and forest green. So I want to actually dye that item even dim blue. So you right click on your dye, and it does this. And all of a sudden, any item in your inventory shows up as something that can be dyed. And you get this little dye pot. You notice this little dye pot attached to my cursor. But I'm going to go over here and click this item, and it's going to ask you, do you want to actually dye it? And you click yes. Now, there is a thing in place to prevent you from accidentally dyeing something that already has the dye assigned to it. So it's really cool. So I'm going to click the item again, and then we're going to go down here to our selection color. And now you can see even dim blue is in the list of available dyes for it. So if you want to use that item on your character cosmetically, then what you would do is you'd go down here and choose which color you want it to be. We're going to open up our cosmetic outfit slots right here. And I'm going to turn on, well, I have my helmet here. And since I've chosen even dim blue, I'm going to click and I'm going to drag that bad boy in. Then all of a sudden, my character is cosmetic outfit has that item there in the correct color. So if I wanted it to be heirloom blue, I change that and then drag that over, and then it changes to the color as well. And now I need to go fix my headpiece because that's not the one I wanted. So give me just a moment. Outfit head. I just have to remember which one I was using. That wasn't it. I think it was this one. There we go. So it's kind of cool. So that's Vault Keepers. And we also mentioned housing chests. So I have a couple of different chests we can preview. I'm going to send my character to my personal house. I'm going to show you how this works. I thought we might get 2 classes in today, but maybe not. For a second there, I had a Professor Corey moment. Oh, it's my favorite piece of incidental music in the game. Okay, so I own a Hobbit hole on 6 Myrtle Court. Actually, one of my hobbits owns this. So when you're on a property that you own, you have this little icon here that toggles the decoration mode. So that shows you what things you have to decorate, like where you can put stuff. Let's choose this item real quick. You also have the option of rotating stuff, moving it to the left and right, and moving it forward and backwards. And then you can save that position and it will remember. You can also click on an item and return it to owner, but I am the owner, so, you know, whatever. So I'm not going to actually make that take. You also get this little housing management icon you can click on, and then you can change how you manage your house. And this is stuff we could have gone over last time, but, you know, it was a quick visit. So this is my house. This is how much it cost me to buy it. This is how much it cost me per week to maintain it. So you don't actually buy houses, you rent them. So this is like the rental deposit in this. You don't get the deposit back, by the way. And it tells me how many places I have to to hook things, to set things down in these things are called hooks. There's also the maintenance. This tells me when I can, how far out I'm going to be able to keep this going. You can do this up to 15 weeks in advance. So I was about to, June, let's make it go out till August. And you can either spend Mithril coin or you can use in-game gold. There we go. And the game automatically deducts it, and it will send you a little reminder note if it's, used up the last of your upkeep. And permissions is where you tell people how to manage your house or if they can manage it at all. So this particular house, I have it set, and what you do is you click on the listing that you want people to have access to. So my kinship has the ability to go inside my house. The visitor listing can actually go inside. If this is unchecked, you notice the little house icon goes away. This means they can't go inside the house. They can, of course, trample on your lawn, but nobody cares. You can also go here and say you want to add somebody. You add the name of a player that you want to be able to access, your property, but you don't want it to be the same as everybody else. So I have it set so everybody can visit my house. Only my kinship, in this case Mythgard, on this particular character, they can access my housing chest, which means they can take stuff out if it's there. They can also pay for the house if they want to help me with my upkeep. They cannot decorate it. They can't put things down on the lawn because I didn't give them that permission. They do have the option of using decorations. Some housing decorations actually have a use for them. And you might want to do research on the specific item before you right-click on it, because some of them will teleport you to a random place in Moria without your pants. I am not kidding. And in terms of security and making sure people don't mess with your stuff, never, 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 never give anybody the ability to manage permissions. I don't care if you're married to them. Give them access to everything else except actually turning off everybody else's permissions. You don't want them messing with your stuff. So here I have 2 extra players that I've added. Bella Rain is my good and dear friend Southern Belle, one of the other LotRO stream moderators. She's not a streamer, but she's an awesome person that I know from the Department of Halbert Security Kinship. And Dwintrel is actually our beautiful community manager, Cordovan. That's his previous stream character, so I gave him permission to do everything. I didn't let him use any item. You know what? I'm going to give him... Well, I didn't feel like he should pay maintenance on my house. If he doesn't, he doesn't even know this thing exists, but that's fine. And then once you make the changes you want to make, you click apply, and then it's done. So there's that. So, and if you decide not to make the changes, you can then tell it. If you choose, you can click no and go back and fix it, or you can click yes to actually say, yeah, I didn't actually mean to make changes. So let's turn these off. We're going to go into the housing chest, and I'm going to show you this real quick. And I don't profess to be a housing person. I highly recommend you talk to a lady called Noodly Pot Pie. There's also my friend Nathrian. There's a lot of people. I actually did, on the official LotRO channel, I did a housing tour for like a couple of weeks, where we just went and looked at people's decorations, because you can get various housing decorations, and there's so much people can do with it. It's like, oh my god, really? So I leave that to the masters. And in your house, by the way. Let's turn on our housing decoration mode again for a second. You notice, this is not necessarily accessible, but there are different housing hooks and also very loud music. Alright, I have the Shire music on right now, but you can like add something here. If you have something in your inventory that matches that slot, you'll see it actually start spinning around in your inventory to say, hey, this fits that particular slot. I apparently don't have anything in my inventory to mess with. But there are like small walls, there are large walls, there's large furniture. Some stuff can only go outside, some stuff can only go inside, some stuff can go in both places. But this is all the fun, you know, things. And it does look really spammy when you're looking around. It's like, oh my god, what's going where? And But this is also because this is a hobbit hole and it's a very small space, relatively. But anyway, let's turn the housing hook. Why was I turning on the housing hooks? I forget. It's not that important. Alright. This is my housing chest. And it is also over full. And I'm not taking anything out. And it uses the same UI as your regular storage. Now, bear in mind, keep an eye on the 96 out of 30, because I was a bad monkey and moved stuff around. But these are all housing items, decorations. Like this party scroll is bound to my account. I can hang it from the ceiling. It's really cool. And you can also put any... You don't have to put just housing items here. You can also put... like here's some Lembas. Because even more Lembas. How appropriate is that? So 96 out of 30. The first item in my list here was the Karis Galathon theme. You can add space up to a certain number of times with in-game gold. And then it's strictly mithril coin only, and holy crap, they are expensive. So I don't really mess with this a lot. So as you notice, my limit is technically 30, because I've never actually spent money to increase my housing chest. So this is my personal house on Landreval. I also have a premium house at Belfalas. And you can have as many premium houses as you want. Nobody cares. Because that's all about buying with real money. As a sort, you can grind LotRO points to buy stuff on your house. I need my ingredient crates here. Listen to some beautiful music by Mr. Bill Champagne, who is our current composer of Lord of the Rings Online. Alright. So we're going to go into my house here. And sometimes if you go into a house and you try to move forward, your character will glide a little bit. That's because things are still loading. Again, this is a thing where they have to be careful what they do with the interiors because it could be messy. Alright, so here's my housing chest in this big, fine Gondorian house with the really cool ceilings. And it's still the same stuff. Right? Alright, we're going to actually switch to my my other alt because I need to show you my actual kinship. Because this character is in Mythgard, so if I go to the Mythgard kin house, we're going to wind up in Thorin's Gate, which is fine. It's a nice kin house, but I want to show you what the housing storage looks like if it's your own kin house that you yourself own. So let me switch over to my captain. We're going to startle Miss Hollyberry for a second because she's currently using the lore hall to practice for Sunday's Anduin Ensemble concert. Actually was in there with Kiriana when I first logged in to get ready for the stream. And we had a little chat, and I love talking to Holly. She's an amazing member of our LotRO community. She's a leader of the Anduin Ensemble now. taking over for her best friend, Jim, aka Jeff Roy, who sadly recently passed less than a month ago. It's very, very sad. She's practicing, so we're gonna leave her be, and we're gonna go to my kinship's house, which is Radio Free Gallifrey. See, Radio Free Gallifrey. So you're getting a little bit. By the way, you should show up, and you can't actually hear the band perform because I have player music turned off for right now, just in case we ran across somebody. So we're back in Belphilus. This is my personal kinship, Radio Free Gallifrey. And yes, I did splurge for one of the islands because they're amazing. I own an island. Actually, I own a couple of them. Not on the same server. I only own one per server. I'm not greedy because these things are rare. But this is my own personal kinship, Radio Free Gallifrey. And you notice I'm gliding because I'm still waiting for stuff to load in. There we go. Alright, so here's the housing chest. Right here, right in the front door. This is different. My kinship has a different housing chest. If I'd known that, I would have put stuff in it. It used to be the same. It used to be where your housing... So it's probably because it's the kinship's housing chest rather than a personal house. So that's kind of cool. So I have another... 26 slots I can put stuff in, and I might actually do that. Because look, I have an inventory management problem, as you can see. So that's housing and shared storage, and for some reason I have the Karis Galathon theme going on here, so we sound like we're in Lorien, even though we are in... Let me out. Even though that we're in Gondor. But we're gonna come out here and listen to the quiet Gondor music for a bit. Alright. Or the game won't lag. Alright. Let's go to my next slide. We're actually gonna get to our second slide. What? We're gonna talk about reputation and task items. So, let me actually... I do not have task items on this character. Rude. Alright. Okay, we're gonna go talk about task items, but let me go up to the docks here because that is where the task boards are. So, in a lot of settlements, like Bree, Dol Amrith, which is nearby, here in all of the housing instances, there are these things called task boards. And the task boards are an optional system that you can use to increase your reputation with the various factions. So I'm going to get up here to the task board, and then we'll take a quick look at it. Actually, I don't think this is here. Oh, there is. I think there is. Yep, they're over here in the corner. Let's turn names on again. There's a vault keeper here. He doesn't have a name. You can, by the way, fish in this pond. I have fished here fairly often. So these are task bulletin boards where you can go and find tasks for various things. So if you find, like, mysterious ears, it's going to offer you a quest. And this quest is going to say, collect 10 mysterious ears, you come back, you get increased reputation with this faction, you get legendary item XP, you get steed experience. For war steeds have experience just like legendary items and players do. Alright, I have a slide. There is a slide. There's actually a slide. So let's discuss what's on the slide. So, reputation can be earned with many factions throughout Middle-earth. Most reputations have ranks that are called, you start with, in most cases, neutral. Then you become acquaintance over time as you do more stuff for that faction. Then you become a friend, then an ally, and finally you become kindred. Some of them actually have higher ranks, but for the most part, this is how it's going to be throughout most of the game. There are some factions that you're going to be hated with or an outsider with. You're going to start as an outsider to the Lossoth of Surrey Kylo. up in Forachel. And that's a lore appropriate term because the Lost South weren't friends with anybody until you had to earn their friendship, and it took extra work. You can earn reputation by questing, or in a lot of the older areas, a lot of the bad guys will drop these reputation tokens. And then those reputation tokens that drop are generally unbound, and you can trade them with other players through the auction house or whatnot. Each faction will have a vendor that will sell items for either in-game gold or specific barter currency that require a certain level of reputation. For example, there are vendors in Lothlorien who will sell you crafting recipes, but you can't use those crafting recipes until your crafter has the appropriate reputation with them. And that is the way that it works. Alright, you can get reputation accelerators in the LotRO store. Again, it's up to you if you pay for convenience. These tasks that we're showing are a quick way to help gain reputation. You can turn in certain items dropped by bad guys at a task board like I just showed you. Players will start out with 5 daily tasks that you can turn in, but you can increase that up to 15 by completing a certain number of task needs that unlocks a slot, and then there's some that you can only get unlocked by using Mithril Coin. And then you can do up to 15 tasks a day. My good and dear friend, free-to-play streamer Mr. Big Ed Mustafa is a master of task items. In fact, it is one of the 5 tenements of a proper LotRO stream if you ask him. And he can basically, he pretty much has it in his head what task items are good and which items that look like task items but actually aren't. There's also a list of them on the LotRO wiki, and I'm going to copy pasta that link into chat. There's also a very handy plugin called Daily Task that will help you track which items you have, which items your alts have, which faction those task items are useful for, and also tell you which items the junk actually isn't useful for. So if you go to that link that I just dropped in chat, which is right there also on the screen, that will give you the appropriate information on which items are useful for what. So if you've already done all the quests in an area, some of them may actually get you kindred status without having to do additional these daily tasks. In the meantime, I'm going to turn the music down just a little bit. I love Bill's music, but it can be a little bit much. Alright, let's move on to our next slide. Boom. Hope and Dread is one of the coolest mechanics in all of Lord of the Rings Online. This is actually something that's born out in the lore, where characters feel a surge of hope if they're around Gandalf, or around Elrond, or Glorfindel, but they feel a source of dread if they're around certain bad guys. Like if you're hanging out with the King of the Nazgul, the Witch King of Angmar, you're going to be pretty propped up with dread. So this is a unique mechanic to Lord of the Rings Online that buffs or debuffs a character, your character's morale, their power or wrath, or an offensive and defensive capabilities. And again, it depends on your location. There are certain locations that by their very nature have dread attached to them. Especially some places that, like the orcs of, in the Lonelands are hanging out near this altar or something that is, sacred to Angmar, which is a very bad thing to be. It also is tied to a specific NPC. Interestingly enough, if you go to Rivendell and go to Bilbo's room where Frodo and Gandalf are hanging out and you stand next to Frodo, you're going to get a point of dread because the ring is there. How cool is that? In certain moments during a quest will cause either hope or dread to appear. For example, there's some quests in Angmar where the Eye of Sauron is present and you're going to get a ton of dread there. So the scale runs from plus 15 hope to minus 15 dread. Skills will buff up to plus 5 hope. So your skills will increase up to 5 hope. If you're set at more than 5, you don't get any additional benefit. But debuffs will go all the way down to the basement to negative 15 dread. At a certain level of dread, the Eye of Sauron will appear in the place of your mini-map. And it'll be like all glowing. It's just like in the movies, like the Eye of Sauron is there and everybody's wigging out and it looks, you know, like the eye is coming to get you. Once you hit negative 5 dread, your character will cower and cannot fight. In most cases, you're not going to get defeated. However, players can stave off some dread or boost hope with the use of something called a hope token. You can get hope tokens randomly dropping in the game. Scholars like my character can craft them. Or my scholar character can craft them. Or you can buy them in the LotRO store with LotRO points. A hope token. Do I have any? No. I do. Actually, this is one that dropped in Hobbit Presents as well. They drop in Hobbit Presents. And it looks something like this. Is the one that comes from the store. And they have varying levels of how useful they are, how long they last, how much hope they provide. And they're really cool. You hold it. It looks like you're holding up a crystal, like it's like the Phial of Galadriel. So that's kind of thing. So that's Hope and Dread and Hope and, well, you know what? You just couldn't actually see what I was showing you because I was on the wrong screen. So let's show that to you again. Alright, I didn't actually have hope tokens in my inventory. I have one that I got from Hobbit Presents. And it kind of looks like this. The ones that players craft will actually look like a normal crafted item. I know I have hope tokens somewhere. I'm going to pull up this add-on called Kiki Inventory. This is what a normal hope token will look like. It'll look like a blue symbol with a letter on it, or a rune of some kind on it. And these will tell you how long do they last, how much hope you get, and I have apparently a lot of them all over the place. Actually, it says there's some in shared storage. So shared storage, hey, there's a vault keeper right here. Let's go ask the vault keeper. They should be in my boosts is where I keep them. Oh yeah. So these are the ones that players can craft. They are generally purple. So they're rare. And these are also reputation tokens. This green crystal lamp fragment is a good reputation token. And these are just generic reputation. These are the common ones that you can find. So those are really cool. Alright, let's go back to my slide. And the way you can tell how much hope or dread you have in-game is there's this little icon in the southeastern corner of your mini-map. And if you pop that up, it's going to bring up the tooltip in the usual place you have tooltips. They'll tell you how much your hope is. And right now, I'm at neutral, right? So if I used a hope token, I'm not going to use one. I do have this thing that gives me +1 hope. And I can click here and it says my hope is 1, my heart is light. I have +1% extra morale and I do 101% damage. So I'm slightly better. Now if I went and used one of these other tokens over here, it'll give me more hope, but there's also a cooldown before you can use another one, so. Alright. So that's Hope and Dread. Let's go back to our slides. Slides everywhere, slides. Alright. Kinships. Many MMOs have something called guilds. Other ones, generally the shooty ones, will have something called a clan. They're a persistent organized group or one or more players, basically the same as a guild in another game. By default, our kinship ranks are recruit, kinsman or kinswoman, an officer, a leader, and a founder. A player can be a founder and a leader at the same time, or a founder and an officer but no longer be the leader. Each rank will give you a title. Like if you are a member, well, anything above recruit will give you a title of some kind. You can buy a kinship charter as soon as you're out of a starting instance, and you can get them from a notary. There's one available in like Kellendon, there's one in Thornsgate, there's one in Bree. They're all over the place. And kinship charters can be for one of the 4 original races, dwarf, elf, hobbit, and man. Or you can get a mixed kinship. And the main difference why you'd want one or the other is that the racial-based ones have specific racial custom officer titles. For example, if you decide to make a hobbit kinship, the leader rank is called chief. It's really cool. If it's a dwarf, the leader is called a lord or lady. And the title appends to your character name if you want to. Only one person can be the founder of a kinship, and that sticks with that particular character. Like this character that I have right now, Phoenix, that's logged in, is the leader of Radio Free Gallifrey, but she is not the founder. I used a different character to create the kinship back in the day. Kinships currently have 10 ranks that grant rewards, such as more chat channels, member slots, like you can have more people in your kinship, the ability to mass mail everybody. Uh-oh, it's a Dwero raid. What? Roy's coming over with his peeps? Uh-oh, watch out for the dwarves. And you can also buy a kinship house once your kinship is 3 months old. And that's at rank 7. There is a list of what you can do with kinships if you go to the LotRO wiki, to the kinship page. It'll tell you all the cool stuff. Again, you can have a kinship channel, which we showed before. If you go to chat and you type /K and then just hit enter, it'll change your output to be light blue, and it says, kinship, and then you can just, type whatever you type there, then goes to your kinship channel. There's also an officer channel. Now, there's Darnolf too, so there's a couple people. Welcome, welcome. And kinship houses, the ones in Belfast are really nice because there's a couple that you can buy that are islands that look like that. I have the one that's in the far distance, I think. This is Landraval. You know how I can find out? I have a thing here. Talfal Thui. I have the big one here on this server, so the one in the far distance is the one that my kinship hangs out at. And we were just there at the kinship house. It's a really large house. All of your kinship can be, able to access it, and they can help you decorate. And again, with housing, as I mentioned the time we went over housing in general, is if somebody puts something down, you can't come up and take it away from them. The best you can do is return it to the owner, and it goes back to that original person. Thanks, Darnolf. I appreciate you. Amber Vorn's here, so we're getting some folks up here in the chat. And I know it's like during the middle of the day still, so the viewership is down, but we're getting through all this content, and I really wanted people to be able to see everything. And I just realized you can't see my kinship house from here. So I have to pay more attention to how I'm switching out the screen. So here in the distance, way the heck over there past the lighthouse, is the larger of the 2 kinship islands, and I own that one. I don't own this one. I own the one way over there. On Crick Hollow, I own this one. And the island kinship houses here in Belfast are really hard to come by. So, whoa, hello. There we go. Let's turn names off so I can see it better. And the biggest ones have the best ability to decorate, so they're really cool. All right, we have more slides, do we? Traveling is our next thing. So there's a lot of different ways that you can travel in the game, and let's show you the slide. So what I'm talking about, wait, you actually saw me using some of the travel options already here. There are maps that you can get either by buying them from certain people or getting them as part of buying like buying an expansion, or by completing certain content you can get a map. You also get maps every time you accept one of the breadcrumb quests for the festivals. They'll give you a map to the festival space. It's really cool. You can also travel through a mount or a war steed. There are no war anything other than horses right now. So you've seen me ride around on my horses. There are also goats and elk in the game. There are no boars. No matter how many times the dwarves ask for war boars, they're not getting them yet. Now, the thing about mounts is some mounts you can't ride everywhere. Like, you cannot ride anything resembling a horse in Moria. You can only ride goats in Moria and Erebor, in the depths of Erebor. Some places you can't ride at all. Like, in most cases, if you go inside, it is not a big cavernous space like Erebor or Khazad-dûm, you're going to get dismounted. You also get dismounted if you run into water. Where's your big furry friend? I don't know where he is. He was here earlier. Thief Kitty! Your adoring audience wants you. Probably sipping in the sunbeam somewhere. Okay. Let's say you don't yet have a horse and you need to go somewhere. We discussed these before. There are stable masters who can take you from place to place. A lot of them, there's two kinds of stable masters. There is a regular one that we've had for years in the game, and then recently they've introduced these far-reaching or far-ranging stable masters. You'll see them on your map as a blue horse head icon. And they will let you go further places. Like, you can go from Holtvis in the Vales of Anduin to South Bree. Now, stable masters will let you either travel via a teleport feature, and you basically mount up right off, and then there's like a fade to black, and then a fade in and fade out, fade in, and then you fade in, and then you finish your travel to the other stable master. That's called swift travel. It's only available to folks who unlock it, or VIP accounts. Some stable master routes are only available after you discover them. For example, you can go from the west gate of Bree to Mickle Delving, no matter what, as long as you have the money for it, and you can pay for stable master routes with either in-game coin or mithril coin. Mithril coin purchasing of a travel route doesn't unlock the stable master for the destination. It will let you go there no matter what. Because, hey, you're spending quote-unquote real money on the game, so they don't care if you use it. Stable masters are really handy. There is actually a tab in the collection screen we showed at a previous show where you can see which ones you've discovered, and also you can also mithril coin to them. You can also see where they go, which is very handy. Does the hobby horse work in Moria? I don't honestly know. Cord's very big cat is yes. Cord has a humongous cat. I've held that cat when I visited his house last year. She's humongous. So stable masters are the most common way to travel from point A to point B, even if you have a horse, because swift travel, even the slow stable master, the regular ones, the regular stable master routes, you actually hop on a horse and then you're going to ride through the landscape until you get to the destination. Some of those routes are very long. Like if you go from, the west gate of Bree to Mickle Delving, you're going to be riding through all of the Bree lands, all of Buckland, through the entire Shire. It's going to take forever to get there, but you'll get there in the end. So those are stable masters. We had seen them before, and there's actually one right here. I'm going to go find them. I'm going to switch over to the game real quick. Here's the stable master. And this one's a far-ranging stable master. So if you look in the mini-map here in the corner, the horse head symbol is blue. This means this person can take you to a lot of places. And look at all these various places we can go. We can go to Osgiliath after the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. You can go to many of the festival grounds. This is actually fairly new, that you could travel to the festival grounds or to the other homesteads without going to Bree and then going to the homesteads. So these are all swift travel to various places that I've been. And if you notice, Estelad Lan is grayed. This is called grayed out. I can only get there if I spend a mithril coin because I've never been there as this character. And some of them have, there's some of them that will have locks on whether you can actually use them or not, including you may not be high enough level, you may not have the right reputation for that group, you may not have completed a specific quest to unlock it. Some of them don't unlock until you complete, like the one for Inner Karis Galathon doesn't open up until you've actually become able to go into Karis Galathon without climbing the rope off to the side. If you aggro a mob before riding a normal travel mount, does the mob continue its aggro even after you purchase the travel? I don't believe so. One of the cool things about riding a stable master mount is you are immune to bad guys. So they might chase you for a little bit. If they do, it's no big deal. But nobody can attack you once you're on a stable master mount. So that's kind of cool. So here I can't go up to Scarhold because I've never been there before. I haven't unlocked it. So this mostly has swift travel. Actually, the one to the Yetmoors is also a swift travel. Most regular stable masters will not have just swift travel options. They'll have a plethora of not swift ones, and then a bunch of select swift travel ones. So this is a far-ranging stable. This is a very useful NPC. But for to a place that I've unlocked that I know where I'm going, I could just spend regular coin to get there. It always grieves me when I see somebody who's got like more mithril coin than sense, like Cordovan, who has an unlimited supply because he's a company employee. He could just use mithril coin to travel wherever he wants. Whatever. Alright. So that's another way to travel. So let's go back to our slides. And we are going to talk about milestones. Milestones, if you've ever played World of Warcraft, is similar to their Hearthstones, which is not the same thing as the card game called Hearthstone. It's basically a place where you can bind your character to a specific location, and when you click that milestone skill that you get, it will take you to that location. And you can find milestones all over the place in-game. Most towns will have them. Let me see. Mine is currently set to the Prancing Pony, so I'm going to use my milestone skill right here to go to the Prancing Pony. Now, you can buy multiple milestones if you like, if you want to unlock additional means to get to point A to point B. You can then lock them to various places. So this is a milestone as it looks like in most of the old game. And then you right-click on the milestone, and then you can bind yourself to that place. You can also get destinations. And occasionally, LotRO, because additional milestones are purchased in the LotRO store, occasionally they'll do sales that involve you being able to buy them at a discounted price. So let's click Get Destinations. It's going to pull up the LotRO store. I'm currently on a captain, but that's just because I'm just doing some demonstrations here. So you can buy these additional milestone skills. They're not currently on sale. You can also buy cooldowns to help it. So for example, if you buy Expedient Traveler, you're going to get a thing that is going to reduce your milestone skills, the cooldown, by 25 minutes. So basically it turns your milestone into a 5-minute cooldown, which is really cool. And this is a permanent unlock, and this is per character. This is not account-wide, so that's why I personally don't want to spend that kind of LotRO points on something like this. So this reduces it down to by 30 minutes. So it starts off at an hour. Most milestones start at an hour. Then you can buy like Hurry Traveler to knock it down by 30 minutes. And then you can get... Where's the other one? Hurry Traveler, Expedient Traveler. So they stack. Normal cooldown is 60 minutes, and then, yeah, you can get it unlocked down to 5 minutes flat if you really felt like it. I personally don't, because I'm lazy. You can also buy various travel maps. These are one-time use to travel to a specific area. They're pretty cheap. So you can go to, like, Edoras if you wanted to go see Metaceld. And there are for all kinds of places in the game. A lot of these are that I'm seeing is for Rohan for some reason. There's Oghair if you Harwick if you wanted to go to the Wold, or Oghair if you wanted to go to Angmar. If you wanted to go to Dweeland and Erdluin, don't waste 50 Mithril coin on that, or 50 LotRO points. So there's all these maps that you can buy. And this is where you can buy your extra milestone skills. As you see, I don't have any of them unlocked. And these are your travel skills. You can also buy return to skills, or you can earn a lot of that. There's a lot of reputation-based or racially based return skills, such as hobbits have the ability to earn the return to Mickle Delving skill. Regular elves get return to Rivendell. High elves get return to Karis Galathon. And dwarves get return to Thorn's Gate. It's really cool. And men, of course, get to return to Bree. But there's some others that you can get. And a lot of these are, again, if you earn the rep in the area, you can earn a return skill for that. For example, my main over at Crick Hollow has returned to Aldburg because I did all the quests out there and, got the skill. It's really cool. So that's one way to get you where you need to go. And these are all available in the LotRO store that you can take a look at the prices. They're not currently on sale, but you go to character and go to maps and skills, and you can, look for the various items. And recruits can return to Gramsfoot. Why do you want to return to Gramsfoot? You just want to go kill things. So the next thing that you can use to travel to distant places, or to, in this case, summon your friends to your side, are rally horns. A rally horn is available to any class, any character. Let me see if I have one handy here. I do, actually. Let me show you my game here. So I have these rally horns. They're simple rally horns. They're a one-time use item. If you play a captain character, like I'm currently on a captain character, you can get a permanent horn skill. Like this one is a finely tuned rallying horn that I have the ability to summon a member of my fellowship to my side. So I already have to be grouped up with somebody. And then I blow the horn, and they'll receive a message, hey, so-and-so is trying to summon you to such and such a place. And then you click yes. Now, the reason why it would fail is you may be trying to summon somebody to a place that's dangerous for them. That's one of the things about summoning, is you can't summon somebody to some place that's going to murder them as soon as they show up. And that's one thing that we haven't really talked about. In the mini-map in the upper right-hand corner, the prancing pony and the coordinates are in white. If you take a low-level character to a place that is really above their level, that text will turn red. You'll also get a message saying you're in a dangerous location. Do you really want to go here? And if your character gets defeated, which will be very easy because you're in dangerous places, your character will then revive at your milestone. So, for example, every summer, the Department of Halbert Security, a kinship I helped found and helped name, takes a level 10 hobbit to Isengard because somebody had to sing that song in the official LotRO stream chat a long time ago when Sapiens was still the community manager, and we decided to be really cool to take the hobbits to Isengard. But it had to be a level 10 hobbit, and therefore, level 10 hobbit in Isengard we get pasted because Isengard is a level 75 zone. As soon as you take that level 10 as far away as the Trollshaws, things get dangerous. It's like Darkwing Duck. Let's get dangerous. It is possible to take such a low-level character to those places. Generally, you're going to need help to get there. But if you're too far under level for the area, this rally horn will not work. The only high-level place that I'm aware of that you can summon a low-level character to is the Great Theater in the middle of Erebor. I could be wrong. People in chat, correct me if I'm wrong. But you can get rally horns that any class can use. They are a consumable, which means you use it once, it breaks, and they're called simple rally horns. And even the flavor text says it looks very fragile. Produce one note before breaking. And basically, even if they decline to come to visit you, it does waste your rally horn, so you want to be careful about that. Alright, so that's traveling via rally horns. Let's go back to our slides. What other choices do we have to travel? So rally horns are aren't specific to any class. Captains have a specific permanent rally skill available, and they can buy a horn to use it. However, hunters have the ability to teleport themselves to various places. They get these, they're called hunter ports. That's also why hunters are frequently referred to as taxis. So if you're grouped up with a hunter in the same 6-person fellowship, and they have a guide to a certain place, and you're close to them, within like a few meters, they can hit their guide skill, and you're going to see a pop-up window saying, you know, so-and-so wants to, you know, guide you to such and such a location. Do you accept? And it does a countdown. And if you click yes, whoosh, you go with them. Some hunter port skills appear automatically as a hunter levels up. Some of them you have to buy once you reach a certain reputation. For example, you do some quests in Forachel for the Lossoth. Then a hunter can then purchase the guide to Surik Hyla, which is amazingly awesome. For those of you who are going to play through the epic quest line in on your characters, you are going to want a hunter with you who knows how to get to Surik Hyla because you are going to visit it a lot, and they go someplace else and then go back. Wardens have something similar, but theirs is a bit different. Warden musters is a warden can attach themselves to a mustering horn. Like, you can use what's called a mustering horn to summon folks to you. But wardens have a muster where they go to a place, but they can't take people with them. So not quite as useful. Guardians have something called an acorn. A guardian can make an acorn and give it to somebody. And then that person later on can use that acorn and summon the guardian to their side. So it's kind of like a rally horn. So it's like, if you're in a bad place and you need a guardian to come help you out, you use the acorn the guardian gave you, and then they come in and life is good. We mentioned captain summons. That is basically like having a permanent rally horn. Hunters also have something called a system where they can return to camp. There are campfires scattered throughout Middle-earth, and a hunter can bind themselves to one campfire. And they can basically teleport themselves and their nearby fellowship to that campfire at any time. I generally prefer to have my hunters bound to the party tree campfire because it's the party. There's no other swift travel to the party tree unless you've got a map. There are some housing decorations that will let you travel or make you travel to places. We mentioned a couple of them earlier about using certain housing decorations. This is why you want to be careful. The infamous Moria keg, as I mentioned, will teleport you to a random place in Moria without your pants. There is the Mordor. The Mordor door. It's a mysterious door that will teleport a character to Mogosh 2 in Mordor. Low-level characters beware. No, actually, it'll send you to the ruins of Dingarth, if I remember correctly. And there's also other ones that will teleport you to random places. So you'd probably want to be very careful before you click on something in a housing decoration. It may send you someplace you didn't expect. The anniversary keg is also good. There's several different kegs that will send you to various places. Darnelf can only go to Erebor with a low level using Mithril. That's not entirely the case. If you go to the Great Theater, on stage at the Great Theater in Erebor, and you can, I've actually done this. I've summoned my level 8 camera hobbit there with this character, in fact. So you can do that. You can earn various travel skills through reputation vendors. As I said, if you get a certain reputation with a certain group, you can buy the return skill. There are also allegiance travel skills where you can travel to the Allegiance Hall. There are only 4 of them. One for men, one for hobbits, one for dwarves, and one for regular elves. The regular elves one is in Lorien, so... and what you can do is it will let you travel to that Allegiance Hall, and then there's either a door out in most cases. The Lothlorien only has a rider to Mordor. It takes you to Mogosh 2 in Mordor. So there are many ways to travel in Lord of the Rings Online. It's not perfectly in canon, and no, there are no flying mounts in LotRO. The only time you are allowed to ride an eagle, which is the number 1 request for flying mounts. The number 2 request seems to be fell beasts. It's because in canon, eagles are very, very above us, and they don't grant... you have to basically be a friend of Gandalf and a really good friend, and he has to vouch for you before you ride an eagle. There is one incident where you can ride an eagle in a cutscene, but you're not really riding the eagle in the cutscene, but you are riding one of the 3 that goes to rescue Frodo and Sam on the side of Urdruin. But you're with Gandalf, that's why you get the permission. But there is a teleport eagle. Basically, you click on the eagle, and then suddenly you wind up on top of, you get to hang out with Gwaihir on the Eyrie above the Carrack. It's really cool. But technically, you're riding an eagle there, but again, it's because Gandalf has vouched for you. So, there are no flying mounts in the game, and I don't think there ever will be, because that would require so much engineering work. It's insane. So, moving on to our next step. Mounts, as I mentioned, there's 2 primary kinds of mounts. There are regular steeds that you can ride about the landscape. There are war steeds, which are the ones you get at level 75 once you're doing Riders of Rohan content at Harwick. Dwarves, stout axes, and hobbits will ride ponies, not horses. And they will ride pony versions of horses and war steeds. There are no pony versions of goats. You don't get to ride a baby goat if you're a hobbit. It's a regular goat, and you just got to deal with it. Regular steed can only be a horse, goat, elk, or reindeer at this time. War steeds can only be horses. That's because of the animation and the tech involved. In order to ride any horse, you need to acquire the riding trait. War steeds require the war steed ability. You go through a quest. Everybody can get a war steed riding ability. But the riding trait to use comes a couple of different ways. You can earn it at level 20 if you're a VIP. However, and this is very salient right now for this week, this is one of the reasons why I want to get you into the game. Cordovan posted this like 3 hours ago. This is actually one of the weekends that you can get 20% off buying the riding skills and certain mounts in the LotRO store. Now through April 2nd. Hey, there's a Skill and Slayer Deed booster for this week's sale. So, hey, there's that. So, what am I talking about here, folks? So, let's go back to the game. and I will show you what I am talking about. Personally, this is one of the few things that I felt was appropriate to buy in the LotRO store. Is you can buy either just the riding skill on a per character basis at 95 mithril coin, or you can buy account-wide versions of something called apprentice riding or journeyman riding, which is where your mounts go a specific speed, all of them, because some mounts have a slower speed than others. Some mounts have a lesser pool of morale, because if you're just riding your regular mount around in-game, your mount, I'll summon my skeleton painted horse, Rattlebone. So Rattlebone has 100 morale, and that's not much when you're getting chased by bad guys in the landscape. So this, as people attack you, will go down, and if it goes to 0, you get dismounted. Regular mounts, if you are already in combat, you cannot remount. You can with war steeds, if you can get the skill to fire off well enough. So this is a regular mount. You zoom out a little bit so you can see it. And this is actually a rare mount that you can get. I think you can buy it from the LotRO store. There's actually a bundle where you can buy it. Let me get my LotRO store up here. Let's put this up here in the corner. And you move your mount the same way that you move a character. By default, a mount will run. So this is this week's sale. Surprise. Last week's sale is still up. So you can, for example, buy additional mounted combat traits if you want to. Let's scroll past the cosmetics from last week that they haven't turned off yet. Here's a pro tip, by the way, folks. On Thursdays, they overlap the sale. So if you're late on a previous week's sale, you hit this sale early enough, you might still be able to get something you're looking for. Meanwhile, the new sale is already up and running. And apparently, most of it's cosmetics that I don't really care about. I'm looking for the horse stuff. But apparently I have them already on this. Okay, here we go. So you can buy mount speed boosters. You can buy hide for your war steed. You can buy discount. Well, this week you get discounts on unlocking the colors of your war steed. This particular mount, the Steed of the Citadel Guard, is actually one of my favorites. And you want to be paying attention to whether it says you can only get one for your character or if it is account wide. Like these are all for, as it says, once per character. I think there's a couple in here. Here's a green version of the same horse. Westfold Steed. And you can also buy decorations for your war steeds. Oh, the bone steed set is up. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, so none of the account-wide stuff is up right now. I need to actually see if I can switch over to my free-to-play account. This will look better in my free-to-play account. So give me just a moment to switch to my free-to-play account, because she doesn't have all the good stuff on that account. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why you have a free-to-play account, to check all the good stuff. It's like, why are people talking in the Discord? They are talking about... Alright. Oh, that's not even how to spell my account name. There we go. We'll log into Pinky Floyd. Except I think she's in the lore hall too. I keep interrupting poor Hollyberry as she's trying to practice. So give me just a moment here. Yeah, you can actually unlock the purchase of various steeds from the Steed Collections panel, which I showed off in a previous class, but it will only do the per character version. There are some steeds that are available account-wide, and I don't have any of them on this account. So I'll show you what it looks like on our free-to-play account also. There's a lot of differences of what the UI looks like when you're on a free-to-play account, by the way. Things are not unlocked, and it says you have to spend LotRO points if you want this. Hey, the Baggins birthday quest is available. Oh my god! So you have to travel to Rivendell to talk to Frodo. We're going to accept that real quick. Anyway, we're going to go look at my mounts. We're going to go look at in the LotRO store real quick. Alright. I'm going to go down to the mount section. Gosh darn it. Stop it. There is actually an easier way to do this, but I never do the easy way to get stuff done. Alright. Scroll down here. And also, one of the things you want to be cautious about in terms of the sales is they will tell you that only select items are on sale. So it's not like all cosmetics or all mounts or whatever. Okay. Here's one thing right here. There's an apprentice and then a journeyman riding trait that you can buy per character. I highly recommend wait for this to come on sale and then buy it account wide, because not only will any of these riding traits get you the faster speed for your horses, you get that riding trait that costs 95 LotRO points on every single character on your account. So it's a case where you don't want to spend it on 95 per character. You want to just buy the whole 9 yards. And this will make all of your mounts travel the fastest. Journeyman is the highest it goes. There's no master riding trait. So this will get you apprentice and journeyman and a thing called smell the roses. So let's say you're grouped up with somebody who doesn't have journeyman riding. Their personal steeds can't run as fast as yours can. You can use the smell the roses skill to slow it down. So it's very handy. And then there are the same mounts that you saw. So it looks like this character. So this is also where if you want a goat, because again, you can't ride a goat in Moria unless you have a goat to ride. And there are ways to earn one. Actually, they revamped some quests in Moria, so you can actually get a free goat fairly quickly, but just by doing the quests in there. But it looks like they don't have any of the account-wide steeds on sale right now, so that's okay. We're not fussed about it. Alright. Let me go back to my slide to make sure I'm not missing anything. Each steed... Well, wait a minute. Let's go back here. So VIPs get a free quest to acquire a mount and the riding trait at level 20. But you can unlock it sooner with specific purchases, like certain expansions or whatnot gave you a riding trait automatically. Again, I personally purchased Journeyman account-wide riding for my account because, again, it's a purchase for convenience because I'm lazy. War Steeds are available to all accounts at 75 upon completing an early quest in Rohan and Harwick. Each steed comes with a default name. You can rename it. And generally, there are different names for the pony versions than there are for the big folk versions. Regular steeds have a specific speed and amount of morale, but you can buy consumables to increase this temporarily or permanently, which is, the riding trait thing that I mentioned, the journeyman or apprentice riding traits. War steeds have trait trees that we showed off previously for mounted combat skills and passives, and options for cosmetics to alter the appearance of the steed's hide, mane, tail, and tack. And a lot of those will be a per character purchase in the LotRO store, and it's expensive, and I hate it. I have spoken to multiple generations of LotRO marketing people saying, make these account wide, and they're like, no. They're not heartless about it, but apparently this is one of their monetizations thing. Hello, welcome, Hannah here. Honeyer, I think that's how you would say it. Please let me know if I got that wrong so I can correct myself. So welcome to LotRO 101. Goats are the only mounts permitted in Moria, as I mentioned earlier, or the main portion of Erebor. War steeds are not permitted in Thorin's Hall, but you can ride a regular horse in there. Again, no flying mounts or other animals considered for mounts due to lore constraints and resources needed to create the animations. I kind of feel bad for Standing Stone's other game, Dungeons & Dragons Online. They just got their very first mounts last year. And in D&D, there's a lot more variations of mounts than there are in the lore of Lord of the Rings Online. I felt really bad because I knew it meant that they were going to get requests for all kinds of weird things. And they did. And there's like, no, we're just doing horses. Though, they are getting unicorns later this year when they come up with their new expansion. It's really cool. But that's in lore for them. Unicorns are not in lore for LotRO. So, for right now, we're not getting any new toys. Honeyr. Okay, gotcha. So, those are mounts. So, let me go back to my slides. I keep forgetting to switch back to my slides. So, I just read off to you most of this stuff here about VIPs. The steeds can be renamed. Regular steeds have a speed and a morale, blah, blah, blah. Again, if you're riding a war steed or a regular steed in the landscape and you are around mobs that are not gray to you, they will attack if you get close enough, and they can dismount you if they hit your horse enough. So there's that. All right. Moving right along, footloose and fancy free, to quote Fozzie the Bear. Oh, we're done, and it's just about 5:45. So, chat, here's a question for you. Do you want to get started? Do you want to move on to the next actual class? It might take us another couple of hours. Or, just want to leave it here, and we can discuss all the extra stuff on Saturday. Another class? Okay. Let's see how quickly we can get through some of this stuff, because this is going to go over... I actually need to switch back to my other account real quick, so let me do that real fast. And then we'll plow through into our next level. You're sharing the stream to the official LotRO group on Facebook. Oh my god. Is that the one run by Standing Stone? Because that's the only official one I'm aware of. And Cordovan is aware of this because I used to be his co-host back in the day. So let me switch over. Okay, so they need to strike the name official from it because they aren't officially run by Standing Stone. Because that's the only folks who are allowed to say official and get away with it. So I'm guessing it's Shoemaker's Party. Oh, it's an ongoing joke. Well, it's also a bit... it can be concerning, shall we say. Because if people think it's official, I mean, if it's an in-joke, that's fine, but if you have random folks coming in off the street who don't realize, then therein lies the way to badness. Anyway, let's log back into Langeval on my main character, or on my main account. I'm going to leave it on the login screen, because we're moving on to our next slide. Who are you? Who, ba, 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 ba. Who are you? All right, so we're going to discuss creating your very first character in the game. So this was supposed to be Saturday's class, but we're going to start today because I have a lot of stuff to get through. And then our next session will be about more stuff to get you into the game. So we're going to talk about your very first character. So, when you log into the game, you're going to immediately start off with the character select screen, which is loading up in the window behind me. So, when you get to the character select screen, you're going to see a list of your existing characters if you have any. You can sort that character list by... let me go take a look. You can sort your character list by name, A to Z, or Z to A, which level they are, who logged in most recently, and what their classes are. And that's through a little drop-down arrow, so let's go take a look at that. Alright, that's what that looks like. So this is your login screen if you're a regular account and you've got all these characters. And you will see the names of your characters in whichever sorting you've chosen. You have to click this little blue arrow to change the sorting. It will tell you how many characters slots you have and how many are in use. It will also tell you what kind of account you have. So I'm VIP because I'm a lifetimer. It also will let you go page 1 to page 3. Well, page however many characters you have. And you can either, you can delete a character. Not going to. Or you can, if you haven't maxed out your slots, I have 2 slots available. You can then click new character. Over here on the right hand side, you have a link to the LotRO store. If you have any character on this account that's above level 10, this Monster Play button will be red. Unless you're on one of the 2 legendary servers, because Monster Play is not enabled there. You can also manage the plugins that you use to alter how your game performs. Such as, you saw me earlier in the show use Travel Window to move, to go back to one place or another. You can also play the game credits. I actually check the game credits fairly often because I see a lot of friends' names in there. It's really cool. Including our good friend, the Duero Scholar, thanks to his consulting work on a previous update. You can also review the movie library. As you play through the game, you'll unlock these cutscenes that are very loud because that's how they were made. But you can go back and watch the movies here at this library. You can also get to your options screen, but you don't have all of the options that you get if you're logged into a character. These are the ones that control the entire game versus character-specific choices. You can also quit the game, but why would you want to? You can also enter Middle-earth. When they first redesigned the UI to look like this, I clicked on this and I just kept playing with this because I love this animation in the corner. I just kept playing with that. In here on your screen, you have some choices. Let's move on to the next slide real quick. I kind of wish I could show you the screen and the slide at the same time, but I realized people couldn't read the slides if I did that. So, you can switch over to the Monster Play window by clicking on the red Monster Play button, and you get a different login screen. You can choose your class if you have them unlocked. You can get to the LotRO store. You can do most of the same things, and again, it circulates, and it's monstery, right? It's just like in Star Wars, blue are the good guys, red are the bad guys. Phoenix must be an old alt with that name. On Landreval, not so much. I didn't pick up the name Phoenix there until 2005 when they did the server consolidations, and I stole it from the old player. However, the Phoenix over on Crick Hollow is the original Phoenix from the game from 2007, who was born on Silverlode. So this is what it looks like if you're trying to create a monster player. And you can click and drag to rotate your character around. You can also use these arrow keys down here. You can also zoom in or zoom out. Now, creating a monster player is different than creating a free people, mainly because you can't have 2 Reavers on your account. You can't have 2 Weavers, 2 Blackguards. You can only have 1 of each class that you have unlocked. VIPs like myself get all of these unlocked. If you are not VIP, you have to unlock them. Alright. What are we looking at next? So let's go take a look at creating a character and what's involved in that on the free people side real quick. Boop. Alright. I actually freed up a couple of placeholder characters I had on Landreval so I could do this. So you're going to click new character. And this is what the new character screen looks like. So you can select what race you want to play. Again, some races you have to purchase separately. For example, Stout Axe you can either get with a real money purchase of Minas Morgul, or you can buy it for LotRO points directly from the store and unlock it account-wide. The 4 original races in the game were man, dwarf, hobbit, and elf. Bjornings were added later, and then high elves, and then stout axes. And if you notice, this is basically what your character screen will look like. And sadly, you can't get that really cool armor set in-game for the most part. It's very sad. You can choose which race you want to be, and the background changes and your character changes. So this is a Ponzi High Elf. This is what a dwarf looks like. This is what a stout axe looks like. This is what a hobbit looks like. I don't know why he's sticking his gut out like that. Here's a regular elf. And then here's our Bjorning. So the background is basically where they're from, right? So on this character create screen, what you're going to see is you can select a gender for everything except regular elves. Yes. I'm sorry, regular dwarves, not elves. Because that's canon. However, the stout axes will let you create a female. Regular dwarfs, sadly, you don't get a choice yet. They may give us a choice later. They're working on something. So let's say you've picked your class. Let's pick Hobbit because Hobbits are awesome. So every race will have a lore over here on the side talking about the race. Like, what do you get for being a Hobbit? So they over in the let me turn my face off. Let me turn my face off so you can see this. Boop, boop. All right. So over on the left-hand side, you're going to see 5 lists of, these are racial traits. So these might actually impact whether you want to play this class or not. So for example, they're small, so they're not as strong as other races. So you lose 7 might versus creating a different character, different race. Then you have Hobbit toughness, which gives you, you're a little bit healthier. Then you have rapid recovery, which means you bounce back quicker from being wounded. Then you have Hobbit courage, which lets you resist people trying to scare you. And then you also resist corruption, which means so there's these little stats. They're not really intended to be, oh my god, this is why you should play a Hobbit versus playing a dwarf. And each race has their own separate set of options here. So some of them might look better to you than others. And they try to couch them in lore as to, why they get one thing that's better than another. So that's one side. And many of the races have a movie that plays that's about that race. So let's play the movie.
Calling the mountains and hills home. The dwarves are a
Very loud,
sturdy
too.
folk. Dour-handed warriors, but also crafters of great skill. Many of their ancient halls lie in ruin, but their battle cry still resounds across Middle-earth. Baruch Kazad! Kazad Aimenu!
And that's, you remember what I said earlier about how a lot of the movies in game are really loud? Yeah, that's what happens. Alright. So that's one thing. And you can also select a class for your character. As you can see, only some of these are available. You can't, unlike Standing Stone's other game, Dungeons & Dragons Online, certain races cannot be certain classes, and that's just the way it is. They've never actually unlocked the ability to add a class to a race. And this will become important in the future because they are going to start offering something called race changes to the game that's going to allow people to change which race your character is, but you can only change it to a race that, like, for example, if you're a champion, you can only change to another race that has champions. Like, everybody has champions, pretty much. I think the only race that doesn't have one is Bjorning. Bjorning, you're out of luck. If you're Bjorning, you're stuck. You can't change your race to anything else, because Bjorning itself is a class. So, for example, if you pick Bjorning, everything is grayed out except Bjorning. And if you pick any other race, everything, for example, hobbits can only currently be burglars, guardians, hunters, minstrels, and wardens. Now, let's pick something that's got the most options here. This will do. So, if you select one of the classes on the right, it will change the text in the right corner to tell you how hard that class is to do. And it'll also tell you, like, if you can't pick it, it won't tell you what it's about. But it will tell you what's the name of the class, how hard is it to play, what is its usual role? And we'll get into roles here in a little bit. And it'll tell you about what you expect to do as that class, like what the gameplay is like. And it tells you about some of the skills involved. And it also tells you the lore behind the class. Why does this class exist, and which in-game character or in-lore character is it talking about? So, for example, the Guardian class is a basic class. Guardian is a fairly easy class to play, and they're a defensive one. They're heavily armored. They've got a shield if they want, so they're pretty survivable. And they're the stout protectors of the weak and whatnot. And this class was actually inspired by Sam Gamgee, of all people. We never saw him wield a sword very often in the lore. We never really saw him wield a shield at all. But, you know, Sam is there. Alright. So we've discussed gender, we've discussed race, we've done the racial lore, the class description, playing in the movie, and avatar update visible. So we've gone through my next slide already. Alright. Now, let's talk about races real quick. Let's switch back to my slide. So there are 4 races any account can have access to straight out of the gate without spending any money on the game. And they're free-to-play races, and that's the 4 originals. Man, Dwarf, Hobbits, and Elves. Now, if you're a man, you can choose, from the race of men, you can choose to be from Breland, the Dalelands, Gondor, and Rohan. If you're a dwarf, you can be from the Blue Mountains, the Iron Hills, the Lonely Mountain, the Grey Mountains, and the White Mountains. Hobbits, you can be one of the 3 main families, or 3 main kinds of hobbits: Falhides, Harfoots, and Soors. And if you're a regular elf, you can be from Lindon, Lorien, Mirkwood, Rivendell, or Helland. And these origins matter in terms of what options you have in the character create screen. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. Move on to the next slide. There are 3 additional races that you can buy, and they are Bjorning, who are only from the Vales of Anduin, a high elf who was from the olden days, so you're going to be coming from Gondolin, Imladris, Nargothrond, Beleriand, and Osirian. Basically, you've been around since the First Age. High elves have the lore point is if you want to, as a high elf player, you can consider yourself a proper Valinorian elf who has seen the 2 trees and has come back to Middle-earth. It's one of the exiles. Or you can consider your character to simply be the children of one of those, exiles. So you're basically going to be a Noldoran elf rather than, Sindarin or Sylvan. You can also be a Stout Axe dwarf. Stout Axes don't exist in the actual lore, per se. Stout Axes are based on in-game character history. We, as the regular players, have discovered the Stout Axes during our questing in Mordor, around level 105, and they incorporated these dwarves into game canon, and you can play one. As of March 2020, earlier this month, all 3 of these are available in the LotRO store with LotRO points. Stout Axe is included with the real money purchase of Minas Morgul, if you so desire. So that's the one that's on the LotRO Market website, not the in-game store. However, you can buy them all for 1,000 LotRO points. With the Bjorning, you can actually buy the Bjorning with an extra character slot, which is kind of cool. Alright. What's next? Classes! There are several classes that are available to every account, and these are the free-to-play classes. They are Burglar, and available to men, hobbits, and Stout Axes. And it's unusual, like, wait a minute, burglars? Wait, why is a dwarf a burglar when the dwarves had to hire a burglar? And that's part of the in-game story about why Stout Axes are different than regular dwarves. You'll have to see it to get there. It's fun. As a captain, you currently can only be a man or a high elf. High elves came into the game with the Mordor expansion 2 years ago. Champion, anybody can be a champion except hobbits and Bjornings. Guardians, anybody except Bjornings can be a guardian. It's basically guardian and champions are pretty much and hunters, all races except Bjorning. They're pretty much intended to be the ones that you're going to be the easiest to play, the ones that are going to get you out about in the landscape the most often. Lore Masters are basically the game's version of wizards without actually being wizards, because there are only 5 wizards. So it's kind of like your spell casting kind of character without actually really participating in magic. It's more of an earthy based sort of thing. And then there's the Minstrel, which is all races except Bjorning. Minstrel is also one of those classes that is actually not as easy to solo as a Minstrel as it would be for a champion or guardian or hunter. They can definitely be fierce, but you may have heard the term glass cannon, which means they can do a lot of damage, but they're also really squishy. So you would want to take care before choosing a Minstrel. Alright, next up are the paid classes. Bjorning, separate purchase, and the only class you can be is a Bjorning. The only race that can be a Bjorning is a Bjorning. Runekeepers are... Oh my gosh, Runekeepers caused such a stir in the game when they first came out, because they are actually a magic-wielding class. Sort of, through the use of runes. And some people lost their marbles about it and saying, wait, you can't actually have this. This is more Dungeons and Dragons than Lord of the Rings. And, well, it's still here. So anybody who is a high elf, a dwarf, a stout axe, or a regular elf can be a runekeeper. And Warden is kind of like an agile javelin or spear throwing shield bearer. It's really cool. And you can only be a warden if you're a man, a high elf, a hobbit, or an elf. And all 3 of these are available for separate purchase in the LotRO store. However, if you buy the Mines of Moria expansion for your account, Runekeeper and Warden are included. So why buy them separately, right? We're going to talk about Monster Play for a second. I'm not actually going to switch the game music over to Monster Play because I don't like it. So you can be an Orc Reaver, an Orc Defiler, a Spider Weaver, an Uruk Black Arrow, an Uruk War Leader, and a Warg Stalker. One of my very dear friends from the Lonely Mountain Band, who goes by the name of Aiden, is a very accomplished, top-of-the-line, rank 15 Warg Stalker, and I might have killed him the last time I was in the Etmore, as I feel very bad about it. Orc Reaver is free to play for all accounts. The others are paid classes for non-VIPs available in the LotRO store. One of the things to bear in mind is, while right now, until April 30th, all the quest content is available to all accounts, classes, and anything that's normally locked behind the VIP subscription is still locked. You're only going to get the quests and the areas to go to, just so you know. So let's talk about character creation of free peoples. We talked a little bit about Origin. So we're going to actually go back into the character create screen so you can see what we're talking about. And this varies from race to race. So let's go back to the game. Alright, we're going to play with this man, as it were. So we're going to, well, he's already set for a Guardian, so we're going to click the continue button. One of the things is, when you first go to create a character, if you have never played this class before, or this kind of character before, you won't have the option to skip the new user tutorial down here. I personally am glad you can't skip it unless you've done it at least once, because the new user tutorial not only will show you how to equip items, how to loot objects, it's, you know, how to move your character around. There'll be little tutorials on the side. Let me actually put my camera back on. Actually, no, let's leave it off. Even though I'm gesturing, you can't see it, and it's all good. Because it's important for you to see the entire screen. And I could make this smaller, but I'm not going to because I want you to see it. Well, maybe we can do a little bit here. Let me just make this a little bit smaller. We're going to make that just a little bit smaller. Because you guys, yeah, you folks can see that. And then I'm going to put this back on. Whoa, I made the game go away. Here. All right, we'll look at it like this. All right, so this is our character create screen. So you can choose where you come from. And I rattled off the names of the options for men, for example. If you choose a different option, it will tell you the lore of that area. It also gives you some guidelines for what kind of names are in character for that region or for these people. Now, of course, you don't have to follow the guidelines. Hello, my character's name is Phoenix. Surprise. Well, one of them is. And so once you've chosen, you know, where you want to come from, one of the reasons why you might choose where you want to be from is over here on the other side. You'll notice your options for example, if you're from Bree, you're going to have a hard time getting proper red hair, right? But if you say that you're from the Dale Lands, you can get some proper red hair going on here. Look at that. Look at that. If you're from Gondor, you can't even get any proper anything, you know, there's nothing vaguely resembling red hair. And if Rohan, you're freaking Celtic as heck, and you're going to get some super flamey red hair. I mean, hello, red hair. So, a lot of people may choose where their character's from based on they want to play a Gondorian, so they're going to choose Gondorian. Or they want to play a Rohirric character, they'll choose Rohan. And then you get different options for hair color and skin color based on where you decide to wind up. And then once you get done with that, you're going to get the option to choose what kind of head your character has. And for men, you have 22 different options. And as you cycle through the options, it changes what your face looks like. You also have hairstyles, up to 24 for men. Some of them look better than others. I generally like that one. That's one of my favorite. Then, if you're a male character, you can have, or a dwarf, you can have a beard of some kind. Facial hair. You can go full-on sea captain. I love it. Let's go with a goatee, because goatees are awesome. Then you can also change what your eyes look like. And this generally lets your character have wrinkles. There are not too many eye options out there. There's only 3 of them. And then you can change up your eyebrows a little bit. You can also change how your mouth looks a little bit. And then you have something called details, which is where you can give yourself a good scar. Or, you know, wrinkles or whatever. And there's not too many of those. Some races will also have a second set of details that you can use. You can also lock any of these, so no matter what other choices you make, you can't change this all of a sudden. Even though it does say that it's changing, so, you know, whatever works. You can also change your eye color. Let's say I want a blue-eyed dude. Or I want a gray-eyed dude. You can also change your skin tones. Now, this has been a point of contention for a lot of people in Tolkien communities. Why can't I play a black character? There aren't too many options for a very dark-skinned character, because unfortunately that is part of the lore. On the other hand, there's also such a thing as, you know, nudging the lore a little bit for representation's sake. I make no judgment values one way or the other. Wood, Sargareth. Colossus Runekeepers are kind of awesome. They are. Jinjar plays a mini as a tank. So does Cordovan, and that's why he dies a lot as a minstrel. So you can choose your eye color, skin color, hair color. You can zoom. You can actually zoom out on this, so you can get a better look at what your character is going to look like in your starting gear. You also have a body type slider. You can make this character really skinny or a little bit more stocky. And again, some races have some more options than others. There's also this thing. This is going to be very important for the older races particularly. This is with the avatar update visible. A few years ago, Standing Stone, back when it was still Turbine, went and overhauled the appearances of all of the races all the original 4 races. Bjornies have not had their pass yet, and they haven't had to do anything with High Elves or Stout Axes. But if you turn this little check mark off where it says Avatar Update Visible, this is what this character would have looked like with the same settings before they did the update. The reason they allow the option to have the update visible one way or the other, tasty, is because some folks didn't like the new update. Now, here's the thing about having this visible. It's only visible to you. If your friends that you're used to role-playing with or hanging out with, they're going to see it based on what their account has the avatar setting to be. So, I personally just have it check marked and, you know, I deal with it. Right, and you can also rotate your character by clicking and dragging, or the arrow keys down here, and you can also zoom in and zoom out. So you have to pick a name. You can randomize both the name that shows up, and it will come up with different selections based on where you're from. And some of them are like, did they just throw letters into it? Yes. You can also randomize the appearance by clicking this button over here. Maybe you just want to click randomize until you find something you like. And as you notice, it's randomizing all of these options up here. Eye color, skin color, body type, the whole 9 yards. That's actually an interesting look. I have to say, it's an interesting look. So you can go back, and let's say we didn't want to create a man. We wanted to create a Ponzi High Elf, but we wanted to create a female High Elf. Then we wanted to create a Lore Master. See, this is let's actually show you what all the classes look like on the starting screen, because they're really cool. They just recently redid what the characters look like on the starting screen. Bjornings didn't get an update. They're so sad. And this is, of course, Grim Bjorn's house in the Vales of Anduin. Then you've got your race of men, who can be burglars, who can be a captain, they can be a champion, you can be a guardian, you can be a hunter. I really want that outfit. The Lore Master, which I really like. Lore Masters do not hold books in their hands as they're fighting. Normally, once you hit level 40 as a Lore Master, you can hold a sword in your offhand. That you can't see my cursor? Yeah. It's a known thing you can't see my cursor. Yes. You can play a minstrel, which is basically you are playing musical instruments, and you can also wield a sword and shield. And no matter what Cordovan or community manager will tell you, a minstrel is not intended to be a tank, nor should you play one like a cleric in Dungeons & Dragons. Therein lies the way to deadness. You can also play a warden, which is like a medium armored who uses javelins and spears and has this really cool warden shield with the cut in it. So, let's see. We looked at Bjornings. We looked at everything except Rune Keepers. So, let's go take a look at a Rune Keeper. I like Rune Keepers. The Rune Keepers are so much fun. So, here's the cool thing is, if you select Rune Keeper in the loading screen, and then you switch to a different class's appearance, you go back to the Rune Keeper, it changes what the colors of the things are. It's really cool. So, you've got lightning, you've got healing, you've got fire. So apparently the Girls of Middle-earth, who stream alternate Sundays here on the Signum U channel, actually didn't realize that happened on the loading screen for Rune Keepers. So Rune Keepers are awesome. I love Rune Keepers. So we're going to pick a High Elf Rune Keeper. And you notice how we have different options here for Rune Keeper. Different places you can be from, different options for... you know, what kind of head style that you have. I generally go with this one. Different hairstyles. There's some hairstyles that are available to multiple races. There's some that are not. And quite frankly, I believe High Elves have the best of the lot. That's just me. So you can adjust to suit, and you pick a name. We're gonna just pick a name. And they do try to come up with names that might sound like it comes from the speech, and it's whatever. So you pick yourself a name. And again, first time through, you cannot skip the new user tutorial. And the reason why you wouldn't want to anyway is there's actually some story in it. And it's actually the first place you can run into characters from the lore. Like, if you start off as a regular elf, you're going to meet Elrond. If you start off as a dwarf, you're going to see off Thorin and Gandalf when they're headed to the Shire to go pick up Bilbo. It's so cool. So, it's really cool. It's a way to get your feet on the ground. And, like, if you start as a hobbit, you'll run into Frodo and Sam in passing as they are making their way to Crick Hollow. You'll be in the Green Hill Country. My favorite, though, is the High Elf intro. If you start as a Stout Axe, you're going to start in Mordor, because that's where the Stout Axes came from. And if you start as a High Elf, though... let's actually talk about those. We have some details about those. So I mentioned picking your class, and about picking your classes, let's go back to slides. So picking your class is going to be important to you. There is something in gaming called the Holy Trinity, which is a tank, who is the person who's going to be the focus of all the bad guys, if they're a good tank. Which means the bad guys will focus on that person to try to kill that person, and it's your job to either kill the bad guys or to support everybody else. So the Holy Trinity is tank, DPS, which stands for damage per second, and healer. And there's kind of a fourth leg of the Holy Trinity, but healers kind of fill that role. Tanks can too sometimes. And that's called support. It's kind of like vowels, A, A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. Well, support is like the Y as a vowel. A support character will do something like like a captain is a support character in that they provide buffs to their fellowship to help them do better. Or they could be on crowd control. It's something that a lot of lore masters get to do. Crowd control basically means, let's say you've got 5 people coming at you, and if you hit a specific lore master skill, 3 of them get held out of the way, and then you only have to deal with the first 2, and then you can deal with the other 3. There are 2 primary playstyles out there. There's ranged, and then there's melee. As the names imply, ranged, you're away from the bad guys. Generally, you're going to be DPS or healing as a ranged character. Melee means you're all up in their faces. You're hitting them with your weapons, and you're stabbing them. You're hitting them with your shield if you're a guardian. And there are times when players said, well, this game is not melee friendly. Hello, I play a champion. I wield 2 swords in your face. We're good. Certain classes can only use certain kinds of weapons. For example, a lore master can only wield a staff for much of their gameplay until they hit level 40, and then they can use a sword in their offhand. A guardian can either go traditional sword and board, which is, a one-handed weapon and a shield, or they can be like a two-handed weapon, a single large weapon that does a lot of damage, or a champion can either be a large two-handed weapon, or they can be 2 separate one-handed weapons, a main hand and an offhand. Sadly, champions can no longer wield shields. We are very sad about this. It is what it is. Now, there's a lot of lore based on the classes, and if you go to the lower right-hand corner of the screen when you're, when you're choosing which class you want to play, it'll give you that lore about, okay, what is this class all about? Why does this class exist in the game? Why is this available to various races? So, for example, as we looked at the Guardian was inspired by Sam Gamgee. It doesn't matter if Sam never really wielded a shield that we know of in the game, but Sam as a protector of, the people around him definitely fits the idea, the class fantasy of what a guardian is. And there's also a mention in that corner of how difficult it is for new players. So looking at the various classes, I'm going to step back here in the game and see what our choices are. So like a Runekeeper is flagged as moderate, a Captain is moderate, Champion is basic, which means easy, Guardian is basic, Hunter is basic. Lore Master is flagged as advanced, which means I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for a first-time player, but if that's something you want to try doing or something you may have done in another game, I say go for it. Most of the game you can solo on any class. For me, the toughest classes to play are going to be something like a Warden because of the complexity of their class play, Lore Master, and Burglars can be, but they're also really fun. And while Bjornings are flagged as advanced, because Bjornings can be either a tank, they can be any of the three pieces of the Holy Trinity, so they're pretty versatile. They're not exactly like WoW Druids, but they're pretty gosh darn close. Alright, let's move in right along. And hey, we're done with our second class and it's only 6:30. Woohoo! Alright, so 2 classes for the price of 1. They were both free. So again, official SSG owned or run sites, the LotRO forums, help.standingstonegames.com. And also, if you want to hang out with a lot of awesome people who stream on the official LotRO channel on Fridays at noon Eastern, Cordovan, the community manager, plays for an hour and answers questions from the community. However, any of the other streamers or volunteers like myself, I'm on Fridays at 3 or thereabouts when Corey gets done. And he is always welcome, even though he's always very kind and asks before he runs into my time. He has blanket permission to do so anyway. But it's very kind of him to still ask. If you have questions about the game that I haven't answered, you can drop a note to us in Discord, in the Signum U Discord. But in general terms, the LotRO streamers, we try to foster a welcoming environment so people don't people aren't afraid to ask their questions. Even if they're new players for the very first time, how do I do this? How do I do that? Where do I go to do this? Where do I go? Ask us, and you will get a decent answer. And if you don't, feel free to tattle on people, and one of us moderators will come and deal with it. Crushing Andang. You know what? Andang is an awesome dude. He is one of the lore nerds of the Lord of the Rings online community, and the fact that his new nickname is Andang Fire amuses the heck out of me because I'm Druidsfire. There's also fan-run websites. Our dear friend Fibro Jedi, who is currently in hospital, so our best wishes to FJ right now as he recovers from his recent illness. And he has a bunch of guides up on the game, including a bunch of beginner's guides for a lot of the topics I've been discussing, like crafting and whatnot. He also is very well known for doing the usual festival guides. Every time a festival comes, he's right in there on top of things as best he can. You can also find out a lot of information on the LotRO Wiki. Oh my god, there's so much information there on the LotRO Wiki. And those are fan-run sites. They are not endorsed or supported officially by Standing Stone Games, but they're there. And they are pretty well run. So let's get a preview of what we're doing next session. Setting foot in Middle-earth. So we're going to discuss the tutorials for all the classes next time. Even though it said March 30th, it's actually going to be on Saturday, which is not March 30th, it's March 28th. However, on that one, I cannot run over because I have somewhere to be at 6 o'clock. I don't have to be there, but I want to be there because a very, very special honor has been bestowed upon me, and I want to make a good impression. So, I will actually be at the officer orientation for the Lonely Mountain Band. So I'm super, super excited and very humbled about that and kind of freaked out, quite frankly. It's like when you get an invitation to join a kinship from the leader of the kinship whom you have like super high regards to, and like everybody's like, oh my god, this person's going to apply. Yeah. I'm like, okay, it's kind of scary. But apparently they decided that even though I rarely log into my kin alt, they kind of want me hanging out. So I will honor them. So this is the character login screen for the game. If you want to play around with it, you know, if you've already created your account, I don't recommend actually clicking Enter Middle-earth just yet. Because, first of all, you don't want to finalize stuff and jump in before... don't get ahead of ourselves here. But that's going to be on Saturday. We're going to go over the tutorials for all of the classes, for all the races, so you can see, you know, what you're getting into. And I think it would be really enjoyable. And maybe at the end of that session, if we still have a little bit of time, we might actually start in. But after that session will be our final session together for LotRO 101, where we're all going to log in on brand new characters. We're gonna play through our starting instance, and we as a class, we're going to pick one of the races to join. We're all gonna be the same race, and it's going to be one of the four free-to-play classes, or I'm sorry, free-to-play races, so everybody can participate. But we as a group will define what one we're gonna pick after we've gone over the various options. So I want you to think about on Saturday's session, as we go over what our options are for the various races, think about the four of the main ones. The man, the dwarf, the hobbits, and the elves. None of the separate, high elves or stout axes. We wanna do something that everybody can participate in as a group. And then we will go through the process of creating our very first character, and then we're going to play together. You can't play a Balrog, Sagrath. You are a Balrog. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Don't vote now. Come on, let's wait until we get through the starting options, and then we as a group will decide what we're going to play. And it might very well be a hobbit, because I love hobbits. Even though I only have a couple on my account, I just love them to bits. So it's quality, not quantity, right? So in that regard, I must love high elves the least, because I have the most of them. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. And thanks for encouraging me to do a second class, so that Saturday's class, we can really get into the meat and potatoes of creating a new character. And then the following session, which will be on Monday, which we can run a little bit late on that Monday session because there isn't anything on this channel until 7:30. And then we're going to play. Ginger, why do I know that you... Why did I suspect you had a lot of hobbits? So thank y'all for being here, and I will see you on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Bearing in mind, Saturday evening, the UK and the EU and all those other fun people who do daylight savings are doing their switch, so the following Monday class will be at our usual normal distance between them and us. So I will see you then. So Saturday, tomorrow I will be on the official LotRO channel from 3 to whenever. Hopefully I will not stream for an additional 3 hours like I did last week. That's Made of Lions' fault. Totally his fault. And as I like to say when I sign off to streams on my own personal channel, before I do that though, I will also be around tonight. Former community manager Sapience will be streaming LotRO from the Ithel Legendary server tonight, starting around 10 o'clock until he gets bored. And it's very likely I'll be running with him in-game on my Runekeeper, my Elven Runekeeper, trying to keep him alive as we play through content in Forachel. And we're going to have fun. So I've finally talked him into joining Discord so he and I can actually communicate and I could keep up with him, because it's such a pain in the butt to run with somebody and you're not talking to them in voice chat. It's so hard to watch on Twitch delay. So that's later tonight. And then again, tomorrow Professor Corey will be on the official LotRO channel at 1 o'clock or thereabouts whenever he rolls in, because he's on Wizardly Standard Time. And then I will take up after him. So I will hopefully see you at one of these places. So y'all, here's my sign off. Be good. And if you can't be good at it. Have a good night.